Bring on the regional finals. The high school baseball playoffs have been exciting. The semifinals were outstanding, and the regional finals should be even more of the same. Welcome to the Curtain Call podcast here on the Man on Second YouTube channel. And again, thanks to everybody for the support. This thing is doing very well right now. The podcast is a lot of fun, getting a lot of really good feedback. And last week, just once again, just flooded the field. I was at a lot of games and seeing a lot of really good playoff action. But now the numbers are dwindling. We're on to the regional finals, so we're bidding goodbye to some of our local teams who have been eliminated. And as you get to the regional finals right now, best of three format, just like the regional quarterfinals and semis. And I have some thoughts on this best of three format at the end of the podcast, but I kind of want to dive right in. But first, also want to do a little housekeeping here. Again, let's do the obligatory. Please like and subscribe to the channel. It's helping the growth of this channel. Again, hit the notification, do all those fun things that they say. It means a lot. Likes help you in the algorithm. So all the support really helps grow the channel. And again, last week it was just a full slate. The way this format is in the state of Florida right now is in this regional action. If you are in the classifications 1A through 4A, you're playing on Monday, Tuesday. Those are games 1 and 2. Wednesday is kind of a rain day. If one of those two could get, so it's kind of or an off day. If there's a game 3, it will be on Thursday. So again, best of 3. So you got 2 out of 3. The format for the 5, 6, 7A, they start up on Wednesday. Play Wednesday, Thursday, again, that off day or rain makeup day on Friday, and game 3 set for Saturday, this upcoming Saturday. So also to keep in mind, the way it works, if you are the higher seed, you get games 1 and 2 at your home field. If there is a decisive game 3, you are on the road. So, and we did have that, and I'm going to jump right in and start off with, because last week in the semifinals, we had a few of our teams go the distance, go to that third game, and we're recording this on Sunday. On Saturday, I was at West Broward to see the elimination game, game 3 with Columbus. Also, that was 7A. In 6A, Doral Academy traveled to Braddock. They played that game over there in Miami at Braddock High School. But let me get first to the game I was at, which was watching West Broward, a team that is highly dangerous, a team you don't sleep on, a team that now will face Stoneman Douglas for the second straight year in the regional finals, which obviously a tall order for anybody to go into Douglas, but different than last year. Last year, single elimination, so one and done. This time, all West Broward has to do is take one of 2. All, I say all, Douglas hasn't lost yet in a while. But if you win one of 2, if you're West Broward, you come home and you play at your field for game 3 this upcoming Saturday. But what caught my eye? So first of all, West Broward beat Columbus 14-4. The outcome, the final score is probably the surprise because Columbus was number 2 seed, West Broward the number 3 seed. But you really saw where the attrition of the third game came into play because Columbus literally was out of pitching, and it was evident early. West Broward had a little bit more pitching available, and we will talk about that. But they go on, first they play at 10 a.m., and so again, like I said, they played that at 10 a.m. So again, no lights at West Broward, and a lot of these schools don't have lights, so they had to play that. They went with an earlier for the heat and everything, and so that goes at 10 a.m. Columbus scores the first two runs in the top of the first. West Broward responds with 3 in the bottom of the first. Columbus adds 2 more runs in the top of the second. West Broward makes a pitching change, goes from Adrian Bermudez, who started the game but was struggling with command. They're hoping to get 2 innings out of him at least, but when he hit a batter with 2 outs and no one on, they went to Angel Figueroa, who basically settled things down for West Broward, threw up a bunch of zeros. Columbus didn't score again. West Broward responded again in the bottom of the second inning with a big inning, takes the lead again, and goes on to run rule them in 6 innings, 14-4. So great job by West Broward. You can really see their energy. You could see that here's a team that's been through a lot in terms of adversity. For the second straight round in the quarterfinals, they lost the first game at home to Southwest out of Miami, came back, won the next 2 games to move on. They get Columbus. They lose game 1 at Columbus. Now, game 2 is pretty much where the momentum shifted, because in game 2, again at Columbus, it's 0-0 going into the top of the 7th. Keep in mind, all Columbus has to do is score a run, win a game, but they didn't, and that's because of the great pitching by West Broward's Braden Ace Aguila, who pitched great, got a complete game shutout. And in the top of the 7th, West Broward scored 3 runs. I think Ivan Sabater had a 2-run hit as part of that 3-run inning. So momentum completely flipped to West Broward coming home. Second straight series, they were pushed to the limit, but this time they're home. A lot of confidence. The team's playing with a lot of swagger, and you could just sense that they were not going to get down as long as the game didn't get out of hand. And their quick response in the first inning, coming back, and then second inning coming back, and then they just kind of methodically just wore out Columbus's pitching, Columbus's coaching staff. I think there was one point in the second inning they had used 5 different pitchers by that point in the second inning, keep in mind, and they had recorded just 4 outs, at that point. So I think they used 7 pitchers total to cover 5 2/3 innings. And again, Columbus was just scrambling, look for anybody that could get an out and kind of minimize damage. But Ethan Lindor hit a 2-run homer in that game. A big moment there for Ethan, and you can just see the momentum that brought. Manuel Sarcos had a big game at the plate. A lot of guys had really good games at the plate. Sergio Garcia had a big hit. Isaiah Del Valle had a huge hit, in the early innings to kind of give them the lead and kind of build on that lead. Reggie Rodriguez had a huge hit, and then Lindor had a couple of hits. Sarcos had a couple of hits, and now we're in the bottom of the 6th inning, and the score was, I think it was 13-4. So obviously at this time of year, you want to preserve as much pitches as you can. You don't want your pitchers to throw innings. If you have a chance to run rule a team, you certainly go about doing it. And with 2 outs, Adrian Bermudez gets the walk-off single, meaning the mercy rule walk-off, which made it 14-4, which ended the season for Columbus and advanced West Broward. I was talking to Howard Stein after the game. Check out my work. I wrote a story up for the Miami Herald on that game, so please check that out. Read the Miami Herald. I also will be writing about West Broward and continuing on SB Live or High School on SI. You'll see my written words there, and I'm breaking down with previews, and I'll have stuff throughout the week and throughout the remainder of the playoffs there. So please, if you check out my work there. But when talking to Howard, he was saying their mantra for the year was to win the week. And, he said basically week 1, they lost 2 games, but since then they haven't lost a week. And even though they've had losses during the year, they've been on kind of a win 2, lose 1, pace for most of the year. And when you think about it, in the best of 3 situation, win 2 out of 3, and West Broward has kind of been program themselves to think that way. And congratulations to the Bobcats for moving on. For Columbus, another disappointing year. I know they got a great team, they got great players, but falling short of the regional finals for the second straight year. So what happens now? Let's stay with 7A. Earlier in the week, I did see Stoneman Douglas against Taravella. First of all, I want to hat tip Taravella for a really fine year. Um, um, George Miranda has done a great job in his first year coaching that team. JC Martinez, good luck to you in college, or if you get drafted, we're rooting for you to get drafted and get your wishes. Great senior year, really fine team, and they really, to get to the regional semis to face Douglas was a chore. So hat tip to you guys at Taravella. Appreciate all the support I get from Taravella, and I love the kids, the coaches, and everything. And nice program they built, but they ran into a buzzsaw in Stoneman Douglas, which obviously the Eagles know something about winning it all. 4 straight titles. Everyone knows the story. And here they are. They're playing their best baseball. They're 27-2. They're now clicking offensively. When I was there, I saw Douglas beat Taravella 12-2. Gio Rojas pitched that game. He struck out 9. Now, Taravella kind of hit him pretty good, though, meaning, they had some really solid contact on him. And obviously 2 runs isn't a lot, but Gio doesn't give up many runs. So, and nor was he really threatened that game. But they did have a really good approach against Gio, but the offense has kind of been the story of late for Stoneman Douglas. Nick Diaz had a couple of homers in the regional semis. He homered, basically got the walk-off homer because his home run in the 6th inning gave Douglas that 12-2 mercy rule to save another inning from the bullpen. So Nick Diaz has been swinging the bat really well. Jake Rizzo also homered in that first game. Move on to game 2, where it was 10-0. You could tell they were a little flat. Obviously, Taravella, up against a team that's really rolling with their season on the line, didn't really go their way. The pitching again for Douglas really good. Daniel Cardagila, he went 5. He had 5 Ks. Chase Wilder out. He came in through an inning. And again, another shutout for Douglas. I don't think they've given up more than 2 runs. I think they've given up 4 runs since the playoffs started in 6 games. So 4 runs in 6 games, districts, quarters, and semis. When you count those 2, they haven't been extended to a 3rd game. It will be interesting though, because West Broward, they have a way of getting there. This is going to be a real big test for them. Not many are expecting them to win the series, and the way Douglas is playing, it's going to be, very challenging, especially having to play 2 games up in Parkland. But they certainly can do it. So that's going to be a fascinating series. I'll be at least one of those games, depending on how long it goes. But again, everyone's going to be circling 7A is going to be big with West Broward against Stoneman Douglas. Let me take it down to 6A, where Doral Academy, they were playing yesterday, Saturday, in their elimination game with Braddock. Now, there was some concern that game wasn't going to get played. Braddock doesn't have lights. There was some weather that came through. At West Broward, I had a little bit of drizzle in the morning, but nothing that delayed or made anything. But it did rain on other parts of South Florida. No lights at Braddock, but they were starting that at 3:30 or 4 o'clock. Had a little bit of a delay, so it pushed. I think they had about a 4:30 start time that they had there, and Doral got out to a 5-0 lead, won 6-5. But interesting in that game was they called it after 6 innings because of darkness. So unfortunate for Braddock to not get that one last at bat. They didn't get a 7th inning. When in hindsight, they probably should have scheduled, much like the other teams that played that 3rd game, either late morning, like we saw West Broward in 5A. Varela played Archbishop McCarthy. They played that at 11. Like I said, my game started at 10. So it ended up kind of biting Braddock at the end because they did come back, make it interesting. But again, it was 6-5, goes to the Doral Firebirds. They move on. Gabriel Milano and Javion Francois each homered for Doral in that game. So huge win for Doral. They go on. They're going to play St. Thomas Aquinas in 6A. and I'll get to that one in a minute. I want to jump down to 4A because I spent time first couple of games in the lower levels watching, meaning lower classifications 1 through 4, watching American Heritage Plantation win 2 in a row against Key West. So they took that serious. Heritage also playing really, really well offensively. They're clicking on everything, but the offense has really kind of woken up. Key West, they won 6-1, game 1, 9-5 in game 2. Story of that series was the long ball. In those 2 games, Heritage had 5 home runs. They hit. No, it's not just hitting the 5; it's how they're hitting them and the impact of them. Game 1 in a 6-1 win. First of all, kudos to Mark Aliman, the pitcher. He went 6 innings, 6 strikeouts. R.J. Machado broke that. It was a 1-0 game. R.J. Machado hit a grand slam, and that made it 5-0, I believe, and then it got to be 5-1. Then they added on. I think they made it 6-1, and that's how it ended. But home run huge. Game 2. Heritage just came out, swinging again. And first inning, Bladen Caballero hit a 2-run homer. In all, Heritage hit 4 homers that game. And Sebastian Garavito hit a homer on a 9-pitch at bat. Really, really quality at bat. And you could see he was on him, a lot of foul balls and hard contact. And then finally he caught up. And then my guy Jordan Rich homered. And then good to see Chris Levy homer again. And so, a lot going right for American Heritage right now. They will get Berlin Jesuit. Berlin Jesuit took, they're the 6th seed. Heritage is number 1 seed. And Berlin Jesuit is the 6th seed. They knocked off number 2 seed, Merritt Island, and that bodes well for Heritage because if it does go to a 3rd game, they just go down to Miami to play Jesuit instead of having to go up to Merritt Island on Thursday. So I'm sure they're happy about the matchup as well. Big news on the pitching front with Talon Holiday, who's missed a lot of time with an injury. He's been bothered by a lower body. He's like the leg, groin, type of thing, hip. But Talon is supposedly going to be ready to go. So we will see if Talon is on the mound Monday night or certainly Tuesday or at some point in this series. But again, American Heritage welcomes him back. Dylan Dubovic has done, splitting time between pitching and hitting, whether he's the DH or going in the right field. Been very impactful, big performer. And Dylan, again, had another good series. But up and down that lineup, Heritage is hitting the ball. Their key for them is, avoiding the pitching. If the pitching is going to be strong enough to get them to Fort Myers, it's been so far. So we shall see. 2 wins away from Fort Myers. Again, another trip for Heritage, or if Berlin Jesuit's going to pull an upset there. Let me bring it up to 6A because I do want to talk about St. Thomas. St. Thomas Aquinas just taking care of business as they have most of the year. That's probably the matchup everyone's been waiting for a while. St. Thomas against Doral should be a great matchup. Games 1 and 2. St. Thomas is number 1 seed. Doral Academy is number 2 seed. So both teams have a lot of offense, and both teams play in ballparks that are hitter friendly, to say the least. I think St. Thomas has over 60, 62, 63 home runs as a team. My guy Zach Malvasio. Oh my gosh, 16 homers on the year. He had a 2-homer game, and I think he had 3 homers in the semifinals, but against West Boca. But St. Thomas took care of West Boca Raton 9-2 in game 1. Game 2 a little closer. It's really kind of the first little bit of a scare in the first 4. Let's see, districts. They didn't get any scare. Round 1 didn't get a scare. So in the first 6 games, for St. Thomas to be in a little bit of a game. It was 4-2 was the final of game 2. Malvasio hit 2 homers in that game. Julian Diaz pitched 4 innings, allowed just 1 earned run. But we're very excited to see. I'll be at St. Thomas for at least one of the games against Doral Academy. Again, that would be Wednesday, Thursday. I think right now I'm planning on seeing St. Thomas, Doral on Wednesday, and then seeing Douglas on Thursday, Douglas West Broward, and catching it that way. But again, things are always subject to change. I'll be at American Heritage Monday and Tuesday. Let's take it over to 5A. because Broward, we had a chance to get 4 teams out of Broward to go down, go over to Fort Myers. Um, Archbishop McCarthy was the other one, but they ran into a buzzsaw. They were number 2 seed. They ran into a buzzsaw playing against Varela. Varela is a really underrated team. They do a really good job, and Varela um, took care of business in Game 3. It was a lopsided score. Let me look it up on the phone. I meant to write that down. Stick with me for a second, but it wasn't. I think it was like 9-run win or something like that for Varela. Right, Varela took Game 1. That series seemed to be decided in Game 1 because it was 12-4. Varela won Saturday in Game 3, 12-4. So, and I think it was like 5 or something, nothing. I got my info right. Yeah, it was like 5-0 after the first inning. It's an 8-0 after the second inning, and that's again a situation where McCarthy's pitching, was really being tested. But the real story was Game 1 at McCarthy last Wednesday. Um, Varela went out to a 7-1 lead through 3 innings. McCarthy made it 7-2 in the fourth, and then they put up 4 runs in the fifth inning to make it 7-6. But they gave up a run in the top of the sixth to go 8-6, and then in the bottom of the seventh they scored a run, but fall short 8-7. So dropping Game 1 obviously was critical, and it was really something that McCarthy was not able to overcome. They did bounce back and win 8-4 in Game 2, but they just kind of ran out of steam in Game 3. But again, congratulations to Varela for moving on. They draw a tough assignment in Matter Academy Charter. That was a team that they have a very good chance to get both those. Obviously, when you're 2 wins away, but that's a team that had a really good year. So a Miami-Dade team in 5A, excuse me, will be heading to Fort Myers, whether it's Varela or Miami Academy Charter. You want to kind of, it's obviously with McCarthy, falling out. Danny Machado, wishing him all the best. I love this kid. Great player, really class kid, class, family, and amazing career at Archbishop McCarthy, but it comes to an end. The shortstop, he will go on and play at Florida Atlantic. But don't be surprised. I've heard that some pro teams have inquired about Danny. So he's a potential draft guy as well. Really good player. Juan Serra, senior as well. Juan, great kid. His career at McCarthy comes to an end, but exciting for McCarthy for the fact that Caden Coleman and Alejandro Cabral are 2 sophomores, super energizing players, really talented kids. Looking forward to seeing them and tracking their future as we move forward. But we do bid farewell to the Mavericks as they are now eliminated from contention. So that's I think I covered everyone on my sheet. So I didn't. I've been so swamped. I didn't tee up any videos. Sorry, Nick Diaz and the parents, because I would have teed up Nick home runs. But I will definitely get around to that. I've been so swamped, and just getting this podcast off and squeezing in with some of the other assignments I'm doing, working around the clock. But again, Nick Diaz is hot as anybody, and Gio Rojas. Not only is he pitching great for Douglas, he's hitting the ball well too. But I do want to kind of talk about this best of 3 and my kind of observations. And some people are wondering how long they're going to continue this. If for nothing else, I know the teams with more pitching enjoy it because you eliminate that one and done, the upset where you just have a hot pitcher. Your strength of your pitching is what's going to dictate it. But we're also, with some of the travel involved, not a lot of schools, their budgets aren't as, some of our bigger private schools have a lot of money, a lot of resources. So we'll see if the economics, play into it, and we'll see if that's a factor. If some schools just are like, hey, look, had Heritage lost Game 2, Yeah, lost games 1 or 2 against Key West, they would have been bus riding to Key West. And from my understanding, they wouldn't have gotten a hotel. They just would have just woken up early on Thursday, take the bus ride down to Key West, play the game, take the bus ride home. But there are other schools that are, needing to, get hotel accommodations. If you're doing that for a quarterfinal, semifinal, and final, like North Broward Prep, they got eliminated by Calvary Christian Clearwater. They lost 2 games at home at North Broward Prep. Had they, forced a game 3, they would have been up at Clearwater. So Calvary Christian, I'm sure they probably had to get a housing situation, and obviously a long bus ride. So that the finances of it will be very interesting to see. But overall, I do like the idea of playing a series. I like the idea of having to perform in more than one game, and I like the idea of if you lose game 1, West Broward has kind of won me over with show the resolve to not once but twice lose game 1 and come back to win the series. That shows tremendous heart, character, and I know evaluators, the people for these players when they get on to college or Pro Bowls in their future, they're looking to see are these players how they perform. While tested over multiple games, and just see because one guy could have a really good game, but may not really have had a good year, or that's not really sustainable. He just happened to be their day. But when you see these players over and over and under duress playing at 10 a.m. after playing at 7 p.m. or whatever it may be, that is kind of the things you're looking for. Anything that tests and challenges the players, for evaluators, that's what they're looking for. See how they adapt and how they perform and the consistency in their play. But with that, we're gonna this stuff's gonna come up more after the season's over. But already hearing, I'm not going to say which schools, but I'm already hearing some rumblings about coaches, whether they'll be back or not. I'm just letting you know, I'm hearing a lot of stuff. Multiple schools are involved that could be under new leadership next year, so we'll be following that as well. That's kind of common, as well as player turnover, where players could be on the move. But there's I'm just that's on the radar. We'll be tracking that in due time. But for now, we're kind of focused on the big picture, and that's the playoffs. And we don't want to divert from that. And until things are official, they're not really official. I learned that from 40 years as a sports writer in newspapers and 20-ish years at MLB.com. So you got to be careful with your sourcing and such, and reporting specific rumors. So, but just hearing some rumblings. But otherwise, again, please give some feedback in the comments section. Do you guys like the parents and such? Are you guys enjoying the best of 3 format? Do you think this is the right way to go? And if not, is it up to the state or whatever to create some sort of budget to help some of these schools that have to travel distances to assist in the travel? Because if you wanna go this way, uh, you got to make sure everybody can go, because otherwise it's just gonna, the strong are getting it stronger, and the rich are going to get richer, because those with resources and make no mistake, baseball's a resource sport. You got to invest. You got to invest in hitting coaches, pitching coaches, all that stuff. All kids, because you got to put the best equipment to give yourself the best chance. If you are serious about advancing on to college or above, it's an investment. So again, is that a wise decision to have this continue as 2 or 3? But I'm really looking forward to it. I think this upcoming week should be a lot of fun. I'm keeping an eye on Jupiter too, up there in Palm Beach. I kind of just mentioned, Joe Giamulli, he has his team doing really well up there. We have 2 Boca Raton teams over in 2A that are playing for the rights to go there in St. John Paul II Academy, and St. Andrews. St. Andrews is a 6 seed that's playing like one of the best. They're playing like a top 10 team in the state. So that's how good they're playing. I would be surprised if they don't go on. But those 2 teams from Boca have upset a higher ranked team. So it's going to be interesting to see who moves on. Who moves on to Fort Myers. And like I mentioned last week, I already got my hotels for Fort Myers, so looking forward to getting there. But looking forward to the path and how everyone gets there. But with that, again, this is the Curtain Call podcast. Thanks, everyone. Please like, subscribe to the channel, view it, spread the word. The Man on Second movement is a thing. It's real. We did 2.3, just under 2.4 million views in the month of April. Already over 300,000 in the first 4 days of May. So I'm on a 4 million pace basically right now. I'm not predicting that. I'm just kind of taking it as is. It's volume, but we are also losing teams. So again, congrats to all the players. If your season came to an end, I appreciated you guys and all the support, and hope you guys keep following your dreams, baseball and otherwise. But with that, this is the Curtain Call podcast, and we will catch everybody in the next video.